So on that note, I do want to take a moment to introduce Kim. So Kim Wempe is a Prairie-born, Nova Scotia-based singer-songwriter. Her voice has been described as very powerful and interprets songs with themes of hope, strength, and personal growth. Born in small Saskatchewan farming town, Kim also lived in Alberta for a while before moving to the East Coast in 2007. Unsure at first, she says she soon realized that this unplanned move was really something meant to be. And the change of scenery and people inspired the theme of her new full-length album, Painting with Tides. And she also says it fostered a new view on life, home, self, and music. And Painting with Tides has been described as a powerful collection of contemporary Canadian roots music. This young singer-songwriter calls the last couple of years unforgettable, and she's going to tell us why in a couple of minutes. But one of the reasons is that facing creative and financial challenges head-on, Kim released the full-length album Where I Need to Be in May 2009. The EP was awarded Folk Recording of the Year at the Nova Scotia-based Nova Scotia Music Awards in 2009. And in 2010, she went on to win the 2010 East Coast Music Awards for Rising Star of the Year. I'm now going to pass things on to Kim, and I just also want to show you one last thing before passing things on to her. This was actually her website, which I encourage you all to visit. And we're going to give you links to that at the end of today's session. So without further ado, I'm going to pass things over to Kim, and thank you so much, Kim, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. I hope you're well. I wish I could see you all, but you can see me, and that's all that matters. So I'm going to have to do this webinar on keeping it real in the music industry. So when Elvira asked me kind of what the 10 things I had learned in being a woman in the music industry, I was thinking that they would be more technical things or physical things, but in the end, all 10 things ended up being mostly mental, kind of spiritual things that you can really control and work on. So I'll just start with a little bit about me, since some of you don't know me. But I'm going to start with two kind of quotes that I like. So the first one is from one of my songs from Painting with Tides, the recent album, and it's called Chameleon. And so this quote and the song is just really about perseverance, which I think is one to really accomplishing any goal or, really doing anything in life. So you really need the perseverance and just head out there with your heart in hand, and even when times get tough, just keep sailing on. So I really like that quote because it says kind of a lot about my ideas and just kind of who I am. And so if you do want to listen to that song, there's a link just at the bottom here, so kimwempe.com/listen. And I'll do a video for that song later as well, or a link to it. And the second quote, Painting with Tides, the latest album, I've kind of, in the last few years, developed a really kind of positive approach to kind of looking at life and the industry that I'm in and my career. And so I found out that the idea by changing my view on things and choosing who I surround myself with, I would become a better person and be happier. We don't really have a lot of control over anything, but this we do. My mom taught me that, and it just took me finally 8 years to figure out what she was talking about. So my mom kind of always said, you control your view and the way that people affect you, and didn't really believe her for a long time. It was, I would let someone really affect my day, or one letdown was just a big devastation, and you really need to get past that, especially when you're striving to accomplish a goal. You really need to be able to control the way that other people make you feel and just come up on top of that. And it took me a long time to be able to navigate that, but I'm doing a lot better job of it now. But I guess I'll tell you my story, kind of how I got to be a musician. I started out as that 6-year-old girl that kind of runs around the house with a pencil pretending it's a microphone, and one of those fortunate people that really knew what she wanted to do from really early on, and I feel very fortunate to have had that experience. And, I went through growing up in Saskatchewan and did some talent shows, and then I moved to Alberta. My mom got remarried, so we moved to Alberta, and all through high school I did some some more talent competitions, and Mom was always saying, what's your backup plan? What's your backup plan? And I was just full ahead. I'm going to be a musician, and my plan's not changing. So I continued out of high school. I moved to Calgary and decided I was just going to go and start trying to do something with music. But I found it very hard for me to write, and I just ended up working a 9-to-5. So I decided that I was going to go to school for music after 2 years of living in Calgary. But the difference is I had no theory training. I played everything by ear since, I guess, the age of 8, and just really learned everything by ear. So I had no theory background, so I found it very hard to get into universities without that training. And so Red Deer College in Alberta had a preparatory program for me, and I studied hard and got into the diploma program, and studied with a bunch of people that had taken theory since they were 8 years old. And so I looked at music in a very different way, but I found going to school to be extremely beneficial. Red Deer College was my first experience with, real performance and the music business, and putting on shows and promoting and all different types of genres of music. So and voice lessons, which was really the most important for me. And so I got a lot out of Red Deer College, and played my first open mics there, and also recorded my first CD at the end of that Red Deer College experience. And then I had two choices. I had choices for my second university or for the degree option, and one was Humber College in Toronto, and one was St. FX in Antigonish. And so I didn't get into my first choice in Toronto. I got into my second choice in FX. So I was going to a really small town in Nova Scotia, which I found out really, quickly before I was going to move, only 2 months before I was going to move to this small town. So it was quite a big shock, and I was quite upset I didn't get into my first choice. But it is funny how things worked out, because it ended up being the best thing that could have happened to me. So I moved to Nova Scotia, and instantly I found this music scene where I really felt at home, and I finally found my way to be kind of in the music industry. I also ended up meeting my manager here, and tons of music friends, and the label I'm on right now, and it was just an amazing experience. So in my time on the East Coast, I've recorded the Where I Need to Be EP, which I was so unconfident recording it in the studio, I didn't even want to hear it, and then now I love it, so I'm very thankful for that. But I put it out with every bit of just lack of confidence, and it ended up winning the East Coast Music Award for Rising Star of the Year, and Music Nova Scotia Award for Folk Recording of the Year. So very privileged to have won those awards, and just to be really accepted by the music industry on the East Coast. And it's funny when you end up in a place and you kind of feel like you really should have just grown up there, but it was nice to finally be where I needed to be. And so after, I guess, a year, I started touring with a really good friend, Carmel Michael, and we went across Canada, and that gave me tons of experience, I guess, as any traveling across Canada would do. And when I came home from that, I started recording this newest album, Painting with Tides, and I put that out, I guess, last September, and then I got ECMA nomination for Female Solo Recording Artist of the Year, and now I'm just booking another cross-Canada tour, and so just busy doing that, and I guess that's basically the outline of how I got where I am. Elvira, do you ask any questions, or should I just go into the
Elvira.
Sorry, the song is stuck in my head.
Welcome to yes. Don't mention the song, Kim. But welcome to the new attendees. I saw a couple of new people joined into the session, and we're in conversation with Kim Wempe, East Coast musician, 2010 winner of the East Coast Music Awards for Rising Star of the Year. And getting into your 10 lessons, you mentioned that moving to Halifax was your second choice, and that you actually left the music program, or you had mentioned to me before that you left the music program at St. FX after 1 year. You enrolled in the jazz program, and you left. And I think many people can relate to that feeling of going into something a little apprehensively, and not everyone would necessarily have this the strength really to say no, this isn't right for me, and maybe would stick it out and not be happy in it. But you actually made the decision to leave the program, leave the jazz program at St. FX, and I'm just wondering if that was a difficult decision for you to make, or was it one of those decisions of this is what I need to do and I'm going to do it. It just feels right. How was that for you?
It was extremely difficult. Definitely tops one of the hardest decisions I had to make, because I really did love music school a lot. But I think one of the things I talk about in the PowerPoint is trusting your gut, and that was one circumstance where I really did trust my gut. And although a lot of people around me, said, "Are you sure? Because you should probably finish school." And I believed, in finishing school, it was just I knew it wasn't the right program for me, and I wasn't going to continue to pay for an education that wasn't the right program for me. So if I was going to go back to school later, I was going to find the right program for me. But I wanted the time to just go ahead and start my music career and really have time to tour and record and write songs. And so despite what everybody else said, I moved to Halifax, and I just dove right into the music scene and just started playing shows and going to conferences and going to workshops and just getting right in there. And it was the best decision, I could have made, and I'm glad I listened to my gut and not everyone else, but that is extremely hard sometimes to do.
Well, thanks, Kim, for sharing that. You know what? Why don't we continue with your 10 lessons, and sure. I'm sure I, as well as everyone else, will have lots more questions to come.
Sure. So I guess as I wrote these 10 things down, I realized that I'm still really learning how to navigate them myself. I think, it just gets easier just, as maturity and as you go through the experiences. And so I had to include this quote in there because I absolutely love it, but never complain, never explain, get the thing done and let them howl, by an absolutely amazing woman, Melanie McClung. So the first one is it's simple in a sense, to have someone who inspires you. And, I have a picture of Ani DeFranco, my music industry professional that I've, admired since I was 10. And there's a picture of me and my mom, and, she's my personal inspiration. And so, people always say these things and they sound really simple, but it's amazing how much having someone who inspires you in your life really encourages you to accomplish your goal. And I think it's great to have both in your life, a personal kind of local one, whether it's a friend or a family member, and, think about who this is for you. And, being able to talk to them about the small things, and they're encouraging you and supporting you. And then also, at the same time, having that person in the industry, whichever you may be in, and just really being able to get your goals high and shoot high. And, you may never believe your career will get to a point, of theirs, but, you have to make a plan, and eventually, just having that career to look up to really helps you strive towards your goal. So, number two, I had find friends in the industry you can trust and relate to. So there's positives and cautions to this, but a lot of positives. You need to have friends on the same level as you in any industry. You go through so many things. You need to be able to share your experiences with those friends, and it's nice to talk to people who are going through the same thing. Sometimes you find it hard to talk to people who may not really understand the concept of what's going on. But especially as a musician, I feel I have friends in the industry to talk to about the ups and downs and the letdowns and the positives, and just sharing your accomplishments with, and to you talk about touring and share ideas, and networking is beneficial in a lot of things. Also, leading into that, you need many you'll need advice on are very industry specific. So, the people in the industry can answer questions, whereas a personal friend that's not in the industry may have trouble answering those questions. So the cautions to that is that you have to always remember that it is your career, and in the end you make your own decisions. So you want to listen to their advice and their opinions, but at the same time always realize you do have to make your own decision, and what may be right for them may not be right for you. And relating to the music industry, that could be, your touring markets, your songwriting, your coping methods, So just always realizing what's best for you while also taking their opinions into consideration. So 3, stay true to who you are in your own path. Everyone has said, your whole life, trust your gut instinct always. And it seems like such a simple concept, but it's actually so complicated. Many times you should have trusted your gut and you don't really want to listen, so you just keep ignoring it. Or, that's happened to me a lot. I think especially in the last year, my gut has really spoke to me in a lot of situations and decisions that I've had to make, or relationships that I'm involved in, and really do need to trust your gut and listen to what it's telling you. And then the other point is just know who you don't want to be and where you don't want to be. So I think if you not always know who you are and where you're gonna be, because sometimes that changes depending on the phase of your life. But I think as long as you know where you don't want to go, you're really on a good path. And that's kind of what I talk about in the video clip here that I listed here. So that's from the song Chameleon as well. So it's a little clip on the recording process, and you can check that out later on. Before I have don't compare your successes to others. I have a lot of problems with this. I think it's a lot to do with the industry that I'm in. You constantly compare your success with everybody else, and the industry and people and reviews and the radio, constantly, analyzing your music and your songs. So you really need to be able to just be confident in what you do in your own path. So if you're looking at everybody else's successes, you're so narrowly focused that you can't see your small successes. So really always realizing that careers unfold differently, and it's about all the small things, and you really need to compare your successes to your own path and not others, because it just causes a whole cycle of just lack of confidence, and it's extremely important to have confidence. So don't compare successes to others. I'm still working on that. Have a plan. Yeah.
Can I because I was wondering, because the last couple of slides you mentioned, staying true to your path, and and also don't comparing your success to others. And you also mentioned that last year you've had to make a lot of difficult decisions, and you've had some difficult experiences as well. In the last year you've been on tour, right? Do you want to share any of those stories, like challenges you've had to face, and what that was about, and maybe how you faced that challenge?
Yeah. Well, I think, I'll just do an overview of a lot of them. I think just over the last year I talked about how I was, in my bio and just my story, how I was 6 years old and I knew what I wanted to do. And I think for the first time in my entire life, I questioned if I wanted to do this for the first time this year. And I think that just came out of a lot of experiences where a lot of relationships were changing in the industry, and because I didn't have a lot of these 10 things in place. So I did only question whether I wanted to do this for probably 2 days. So just you'll not want to keep singing for a real long time. But I think it was really scary for me when I questioned whether I wanted to do this or not, because that had happened in my life. And so I realized that a lot of decisions I had to make on relationships and the people that were surrounding me, and business, becoming, being an artist and a businesswoman at the same time. I was always good at being an artist, but I didn't necessarily know how to be a businesswoman, and I think I've really had to learn that, and it's hard for me. It definitely doesn't come easy. And, booking is always a challenge. That's something I've also had to learn to do that I've never been good at. So I'm just making sure that I had all these 10 things in place really allowed me to come out of all those challenges that I went through this year and come out on top and just say, no, these are the things I need to have in place, and I'm doing just fine, and really look back at my plan, which we're talking about now, and really realize that I am on track, and that, I am succeeding, and you just have to keep working at it. And there's ups and downs, and sometimes there are a lot of downs, but you just gotta pick yourself back up and look at your plan, realize that you have had a lot of success, and just keep on writing. So that's kind of been my year.
And that really segues nicely into your plan.
No, I don't even know how that happened, but it did. Perfect. So the thing, when I first met my manager, I thought he was crazy. I'm not going to lie. He came up to me and, he said, you have a great voice, and what are you doing with your business? And I'm kind of like, I don't know. I just write music. I didn't really know, what I have to do with the business. I knew I had to have a website, and that was about it. And so he kind of had our first meeting, and he said, so I want you to write out a 5-year plan. And I just went, what? 5-year plan, really? And, looking back on that, I realized, how great it was that he suggested that and that he came along, because you really do need a 5-year plan. You need to write out and have goals, and you need to write those down and, figure out how you're going to accomplish them. So always getting perspective and see the big picture and have a broad view. My manager did help me write out a little thing this morning that kind of it's kind of some suggestions as to how you would write out a 5-year plan. So if you do want to do that, looks like just shoot me an email at kim@kimwempe.com, and I'll share that with you. But I'll just share some of the focus questions that are on that. So you're writing out a 5-year plan. You want to ask yourself some questions. The first one, obviously, where do I want to be in 5 years? What do I want to be doing? Is there someone else doing this right, whose path I can follow? That's something that I've done a lot of. So, looking at other artists, seeing their tour schedule, see what they do, and following their path. It's really, taking from the people that you look up to and, going from them. What will it take to get you where you want to go? Who is involved in that industry or doing that job that I can talk to for advice on getting started? Are there government programs or accredited courses I can tell to help me improve my skills? If where you want to be in 5 years, where, also look at the 2 years. Are you on track? And are there apprentice or mentorship opportunities available to help guide you through the first 2 years? And so those are just some of the questions you want to ask yourself when you're writing out a plan. But once again, if you do want to see the whole sheet of the focus questions, just email me and I'll shoot that off to you at the end of the PowerPoint. 6 is prepare financially. So this is something I've never been good at. So if you're not good at it, find people who are and ask for help, because you're definitely going to need it. You need to, after you've made the plan, you need to look at your numbers and see what contingencies do I have, how much will it take. You want to look at your budget, your revenue, your expenses, and shortfall, and then range, those things around your shortfall. Always take into consideration the government and provincial grants and sponsorships and competitions that are out there. I'll have a lot of those in the resource section at the end as well. So, people in the industry that can help you with preparing financially, because it is a big job, and also these government and provincial grants and how to write a grant properly. So, verse 7, have confidence, grow confidence. I fully believe that confidence is the key to any success. And it doesn't always come naturally, so it's like anything else in life, you have to work on it. And for me, positive self-talk and positive affirmations have really been helpful for me in the confidence category. I think we have to be conscious of how we kind of talk to ourselves daily, and especially when you're going to accomplish your goals, or you succeed, or you're let down by something, really realizing how you're talking to yourself and the things that are going through your head. Because if you're constantly reaffirming negative thoughts, then it just constantly backs the confidence down. And so if you kind of, when you accomplish a goal, say, I did a good job, and realize that, instead of, say, oh, well, I could have done better, and just, you have to realize what you did good. that just it really helps the confidence. And confidence also comes from just believing in what you do and your passion. So always remembering really why you do this and have confidence that you're good at it. So, 8, that leads into always grow stronger. So obviously technically you always want to be better. So your performance and your business skills, both sides of the spectrum for me, and always just making sure that you're always improving and trying to, set a goal. Mentally, so maturity and mental preparation. So for me, mentally being able to really prepare for a gig or handle stress situations or, handle a certain situation on stage and be able to just deal with that right at the moment. So I think that comes with a lot of practice, and once again, it does come with maturity. But and then there's also emotionally, so coping and overcoming the obstacles. Like the entire year for me has been, on growth in every single area here, technically, mentally, emotionally, and physically. So I'm glad that I went through this because you kind of just have to experience. It's not really something, I didn't learn these in music school or anything. It's just kind of something that, I kind of learned on my own just by going through it and realizing how important these 10 things are. So physically, I've recently also this year realized the benefits of really just staying in shape. It's amazing how much it does for your stress, all the other things, emotionally, mentally, and technically, just allowing you to perform better and deal with things better. And the fine line of this is always, you want to realize that you did a good job, but you also want to realize that you can do better. So trying to balance that line so that, you're not so hard on yourself, but you're also not becoming obviously the opposite side of the spectrum, which is arrogant and not realizing, that you can always grow. And so just kind of floating on that line. So just perseverance is really the only word I could really think of when it comes to keeping your head up and remember your passion. And I just like this photo when it came to it because perseverance it's just above belief, attempts, motivation, and courage. It's the main thing you really need to accomplish any goal, and it's a perseverance that really allows you to just go through, one of the hardest periods in your life and come up and just say, no, I remember why I do this, and I remember why I'm passionate about this. And so, yeah. And the 10th one is just remember balance. I am definitely still learning this one. I think general health, just making sure you get enough sleep and eat correctly and exercise. Make sure that you have downtime because there's so many of us that go into, work mode and we never come out of it. And all of the things above, the sleep, eat, exercise, your downtime, all of that stuff, your personal life is all affected when you constantly stay in work mode. You need to switch to life mode once in a while and really, just turn off the computer, whether that's, for me, it's turning off the computer and not answering emails and just, going out to the ocean or going for a walk or going to hang out with friends or call your family, and I think a lot of us are workaholics these days, and it's really affected my life in the past, especially when I'm booking a tour. I get really, really wrapped up in booking a tour because it's extremely difficult and it takes a lot of computer time, but you really do need to shut off once in a while and just turn back to life mode so that you can get things back in perspective. So those are the 10 things that I had for.
Maybe we can just take a little break here,
sure.
Kim. Because, you did a really good job at giving great advice, but I have to say it applies to the music, whether or not you're in the music industry. Yeah. Definitely advice that I think a lot of us would appreciate. And you also mentioned, I think that in showing that, you've done a really great job of showing how sort of musicians don't become overnight successes. There's often this perception that musicians get discovered and they become overnight success, and you really illustrated well that it's a career path that you have to work at, and there's this balance of managing sort of the craft side of things and the business side of things. And I'm just kind of wondering, because I have to confess that sometimes I watch television, and sometimes those music programs, Canadian Idol, American Idol, and then there's this new one, The Voice, and they somehow, for those of us who've always been admirers of musicians and performers, they kind of have a way of hooking you. And I'm wondering what you think as a musician. What kind of message you think that these shows, are sending to aspiring musicians, or maybe even to non-aspiring musicians, just those, average people, watching the show? How do you relate to those shows as a musician?
I do watch some of them, sometimes, especially The Voice. I do like that one. I'm guilty of it. I think it does portray an image that it's easy. In a sense, you don't see it from the beginning that, always, the hundreds, thousands, millions probably that they go through to pick those, 20 or whatever it is. But, it's extremely difficult to set yourself apart from, those thousands or millions of people. And so, it isn't an easy path. And I think, there are people where that is their path. And I knew it wasn't mine. Like a lot of people always said, why don't, you'd be so good, just go and try out for Canadian Idol or, et cetera. And I kind of just never felt that that's my path. I wanted to just, learn slowly on my own and do the, play across Canada and tour. And at first, there was Canadian Idol where at first when people were asking me, you couldn't even play your own guitar or write your own song. You had to do covers. And so I knew that wasn't me because I was very keen on writing and playing guitar. So I think those shows, they do set an example that maybe it is a lot easier than it actually is. But I do like those shows. And in the same sense, if you watched America, the last 10 people, the first time I had it on and the first time I watched it was the last 10 people, and I was, like, wow, that person's voice. I had voice lessons for, many years, and I taught lessons so I was kind of critical in the sense that, some of them, their voice wasn't quite developed. But by the end of it, the coaching and the direction that they get, by the time the last three were performing, they had improved light years. And so, but you can imagine the amount of coaching and the amount of professionals that they meet when they are the last 10. I'm sure they're busy 24/7 being coached in many areas so that they can perform and be better. So, yeah, that's my kind of take on those shows.
So that was not what I was expecting, no, it's good to hear that, there's like everything else, positives and negatives to things. There are other musicians on the teleconference, in the webinar, so it'd be great to hear from them and to hear from anyone else who is participating. And just as a reminder, the way you could do that is by sending questions to the little chat box. And at any time, feel free to do so. And, do you want to take a couple of minutes, Kim, to just go through some of the resources?
Sure.
You've listed a lot of great resources. And maybe talk about how, if any of these resources have been helpful to you so far, or if you're looking at them in the future as well.
Sure. So I guess the first one that's been absolutely beneficial for me is the Provincial Music Industry Association. So for me, Music Nova Scotia and the East Coast Music Association, as soon as I got here, I started going to, conferences and seminars that they put on, whether it's about pitching your music or it's about touring or it's writing grants. Always make sure that you look at, whatever province you're in, looking at the music industry that's, part of your province, and really seeing the benefits that they can offer, and the benefits by going into the office and meeting them and getting your name out there so that they know who you are, because the opportunities that they hear about, they can pass on to you. And, the sooner they know about your name, the sooner you get opportunities from them. And then within that, there's also the awards, the Music Nova Scotia Awards, the East Coast Music Awards, and obviously those conferences. There's a 4-day conference around those awards, and during the conferences, there's seminars for 2 full days or 3 full days even that you can attend and are extremely beneficial. So make sure you check those out. Provincial government programs. So you're also looking at the funding. So Nova Scotia Department of Tourism, Culture and Heritage has been amazing for me just in the grants and helping me out with getting recordings done and marketing projects and publicists. Also back to the provincial music industry associations, they have grants as well, so Music Nova Scotia grants. And then there's the conferences I was talking about. So there's OCFF, so the Ontario Council of Folk Festivals. I was writing more of the ones that have helped me and are for my genre of music. So Coast Music Awards, the ECMAs again, the Canadian Folk Music Awards, Folk Alliance International, which is in Memphis. So there's so many different conferences that you can attend. Canadian Music Week, in Toronto, I was just out this year. It was absolutely, phenomenal to just be able to go and network at those conferences and meet bigger industry professionals and go to workshops. Then there's websites like Factor and SOCAN. So Factor is also a great funding organization. SOCAN, reading up on SOCAN for all of your rights as a musician, and mentorships through grants or an individual mentor. So individual mentor in the sense that I was talking about before, just really look at your role models and your inspirations, other people in the business who are doing it, follow their path, look what they're doing, like I've done with touring, just really looking at the people who are touring across Canada, seeing where they're playing. So that's more of an individual mentor, but there are mentorships through grants where you can apply to, have meetings with someone every week and who can direct your career. Then there's always, the reading, so music magazines, popular to local. There's Canadian Musician, Penguin Eggs, to, the Coast, which is just a local Halifax newspaper on music. So just always staying current of the new music and the new musicians out there. And books. I read this one in school, All You Need to Know About the Music Business by Don Passman. And there's lots of good information in there. The industry is constantly changing, so sometimes those books can be a little narrow-minded in the fact of how they lay out like major labels and indie labels and CD distribution, because just how a lot of things are digital now. So always take into mind, how fast the industry moves, pretty much as fast as technology does. Then there's music blogs, which are great as well. There's Roots Music Canada. There's many music blogs out there. They keep you also up on all the new music once again, and there's lots of good advice. They interview certain musicians, so you can read the interview with a bigger artist, and there's always information that you can get from those interviews with artists, on touring, recording, all different things. And very important, live music, live shows, watch and learn. So you have to always be going to live shows and watching others perform and really, just from how they perform and their songwriting and just how they are on stage and their mannerisms. So very important to go out and see live music. And there's always secondary education, so universities and college, which I attended, and they're very beneficial for me in the sense of just able to really work on my voice and the voice lessons and sing all different types of music and really do, from classical to pop and blues and country, and also be able to look at the business and put on shows. And you get so many performance opportunities out of college and university, so that was extremely beneficial for me, being comfortable with performing on stage and really getting over, stage fright. And then I was just...
Kim, I was just wondering if you could just talk a little bit more, because we mentioned off the top and a couple of times that you're the 2010 winner of the East Coast Music Award for the category Rising Star of the Year. And I'm wondering if that win changed things for you, if that opened more doors. I would assume that it did, but I'm wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about that, how that affects your life musically.
Yeah, well, winning awards definitely helps. It helps anything, and it's an honor. So, I mean, to be able to put on your CD or say that the CD won an award, or put it on your one pager that you're sending out to media, when you're booking a tour across Canada, be able to say, hey, I won an ECMA for Rising Star of the Year. It definitely does help. But it's not to say you can't succeed without winning awards. I've seen a lot of people succeed and not win any awards, and they're doing just fine as well. So it's kind of, I guess it helps, and it's great to be able to say that and put it on media stuff. But if you're not winning awards, don't let it get you down, because I've seen a lot of people also still be able to succeed without winning them.
It did. Would you say that helped you get more gigs or line up more gigs, or
yes,
opportunities for more grants, that sort of thing?
Yeah. Well, it also gets your names out there a lot more because there's media around the awards, so that's also beneficial. So yeah, no, it definitely helps. The other thing that really helps, especially when you're booking and stuff, is being able to say that you played with so and so. So always looking to play with bigger musicians and say, hey, can I open for you, or want to tour, or want to get together and do a co-write. So just having those other bigger artists on your booking emails and media, that really helps as well. So.
Well, it's interesting because the title itself, Rising Star, sort of in a way plays into, again, that idea of the star status associated with musician. And you hear a lot about musicians sort of debate, are you in it for the craft, are you in it for the business side of things? And I'm wondering kind of what your take on that is. And I'm also wondering if you could talk a little bit about sort of your creative process, because I know you mentioned that, and you're referring to the blog here, how you do it for the passion. You've known that you wanted to be a musician since you were 6 years old, but
yeah,
I'm wondering if it's something that just comes to you, if the music just comes to you, or if you have a specific time of day that you sit down and write, or how does that work for you? So I have those two questions for you.
Okay, so the first one, I think, are you in it for being an artist, or are you in it for the business? And most people I meet are, they're, you start out being in it as the artist and the passion for what you do, but at the same time, there comes the point where you learn that you are a business, and your art has to make money because this is what you want to do for a living. So it is a constant battle and a struggle between those things, and really being able to balance being the artist and being the businesswoman. So, and learn to do both successfully. So it's definitely a learning process for me, but I think both are equally important. But you can't focus or get caught up in one or the other, because then the balance is offset, which kind of leads into the whole that number 10, keeping the balance. Also between the artist and the business person. If you're constantly focused on the business, you're not writing, and I find it very hard to write when I'm booking a tour and I'm very focused and always on my laptop, But if you get too caught up in just constantly sitting there songwriting, daydreaming, analyzing your songs, and then you're forgetting about the business side of things, that's also, not good. So it's just a balance between the two. And then my writing process is, it kind of changed and developed over time, which I think anything does. But mostly, I have a certain time where I just feel like, a song's going to come out of me, and I sit down and it just kind of comes out of me in an hour. And then, I step away and I'm done it. And then there's the other songs where I might write a line or two and can't finish the rest that day. And, it's kind of a song that's reworked over an entire year, and that's happened before. And then there's the point at which you're stuck, and maybe you go to another songwriter for help and say, hey, you want to co-write? And, maybe they can help you with those suggestions. But, most of my songs come from periods of change when there's a lot of change going on in my life, and I find songs just flow out of me, which I guess is pretty self-explanatory. A lot of things happen and change, and so, yeah. So
thank you for that. And, I'm also wondering about your collaboration with other musicians. Like you mentioned in some of your points about having someone that inspires you and looking at them as mentors. But you talk a little bit more about your relationship with other musicians. Like is it a community where you're each sort of sharing resources and you want to help each other out, or what's the dynamic like? Or do you find it's a very big question, and I assume it's really different depending on the kind of music you play and the kind of community you're plugged into. But let's say, what's your experience been?
Well, the community among musicians is very strong, and it's great. We're all friends, and we all use each other to bounce ideas off of and get booking info, or someone's touring with someone and helping co-writing. And I mean, the community is the most important thing, because it's just it's a friend in the industry that you can talk to and bounce ideas off of. I mean, love calling up a friend or having a friend contact me and say, hey, you want to co-write? That's kind of been something new to me lately, but during my last two experiences, I really, really love co-writing, and it's awesome to get together and kind of talk to another musician about what's the way that you write, and see how your styles are differently, and maybe see what you can improve on and learn from them, and talk about struggles of being on the road and being home. And it's nice just to talk with people and know that other people are going through the same thing. So community is very strong among musicians, especially here on the East Coast, and that's what I really do love about it, because it's nice to just have a bunch of friends who are do the same thing as you, and you can chat about it.
Well, thank you, Kim. And you know what? I'm going to just spend a couple of minutes wrapping things up, and because I also want to leave time for a couple of minutes of showing your video clip. I
Sure.
saw that I was putting it up there.
I think is there a question from Julia about crowdfunding?
Oh, we got a. there we go. I was.
Sorry, I'll answer that quick just before you go into that.
Yeah,
so,
go ahead.
Yeah, crowdfunding. Great question. Is it something I've used or thought about? It is something I've used. It's something that helped me beyond get my last album out. We did a pre-order kind of thing on my website. So you just go and kind of donate to the cause, and there were different levels to which you could pre-order. So, 20, 25, 50, 100, and just kind of there's different benefits that you get with each, whether it's like free video or sneak peek at a new song that I'm doing or something like that. But being able to have that mailing list and go to your fans and to the crowd and say, hey, I'm really struggling as an artist. We got funding, but funding doesn't cover everything as a musician, and it is hard these days being a musician. So I think fans are ready and willing to support artists, especially, if it's just they pre-order the CD for $20 and then, just prepay for it, and that helps the artist, and it also helps you actually, get the recording done. So the fans actually having hands in helping you get a recording done. I think that's a super cool thing, and I think that the fans do. I had a lot of people help me out, and very grateful for all the people who pre-ordered on Painting the Tides. So I think it's definitely a really cool idea, and a lot of people are doing it right now. There's also websites that I can't think of them right now, but I know a few friends that have done them on the websites where you can go list, the project that you're working on, and anyone can really go donate whatever they like to the project, and then it kind of keeps track of where your funds are going and stuff like that. So, great question.
Thanks, Julia, for that question, and I'm very much an appreciator of crowdfunding as well. So I want to thank you again, Kim, for everything that you've put into preparing this presentation. I want to remind everyone that it is being recorded and it is going to be available for you to share with your friends as well, as you please, in the next few days. And I'm going to send everyone a link to it. And I just also want to remind you that this webinar series is presented as part of the Light a Spark campaign by the Girls Action Foundation. And on your screens, you'll see a couple of links where you can get a little bit more information about Girls Action Foundation. And if you want to find out about some of the webinars that are coming up, and I have to say the webinar series is wrapping up for the summer. It's going to continue in the fall, so there's going to be other wonderful presenters that are going to be sharing their knowledge and resources in the fall. And there's lots of other things you can find out about as well by checking out the Light a Spark page, including how to honor your own spark, women that has inspired you in your life. And please help us share and spread the word by liking our Facebook page. And for more inspiration, there's YouTube videos and some PSAs that were produced by the Girls Action Foundation, and they're really cool. They're all about girls empowerment. So if you have a chance, check those out. And I showed this to you earlier. It was Wempe's website and her blog that she updates on a regular basis. That's about it. I want to spend the last couple of minutes taking you to Chameleon, the clip that Kim mentioned earlier. And maybe, do you have any last words before I sort of basically have to instruct people to play? Hopefully you see it on your screens. But you have to play on your individual computers the play button in order to actually hear the sound. So in a minute or so, I'll give you the go-ahead to do that. But Kim, do you want to have any last words?
I just want to say thanks again so much for everyone who tuned in today. And thanks so much, Elvira, for asking me to do this, and I'm very happy to be part of this campaign, the Sparks and the Light a Spark campaign, and it's been great. So thanks so much, everybody, and I'll remember, if you do want some ideas on how to make that 5-year plan, just send me an email at kim@kimwempe.com, and feel free to check out any of my songs. You can stream all the songs free on the website, and as well add me to Facebook and keep in touch. So thanks so much.
Bye, and remember to play. I'm going to do it right now. Bye.